Hi, I'm Pete Krull, and welcome to Dollars and Change, the expert's guide to sustainable and responsible investing. And we are here in the Earth Equity offices in Asheville, North Carolina, and I am lucky enough to have my friend Ken LaRoe joining me here today. Ken is the founder, CEO, and chairman of Climate First Bank down in Florida, and he's got a really, really interesting and great story to talk about green banking. So Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So let's just start with a little bit of Ken background. Tell me where you come from and how you got where you are.
Where I am,
where you are,
and why I'm still there. I was born in a small town in Central Florida, Eustis, which nobody knows where it is, and
I know where it is because I've been there.
Amazing. And Cindy, my wife, was born there 8 days before I was, in the same hospital. And our dads were both born there and played football together in high school.
How long have you been married?
Oh God!
Oh no!
I hope she doesn't. I hope she doesn't watch this. A long damn time.
Okay, that's fine. That's good enough. Ken and I have known each other for a long time, so this might be one of our atypical episodes here. Anyways,
41 years.
41. Wow.
41 years.
Wow.
And next year, I think, next year we will have been together 50 years. So.
Oh wow.
A long time. So I grew up there in Eustis, and then ended up went to the local community college, and took 3 or 4 years to get my AA on the slow track, and working full time. And then I went to Florida State and got my undergrad degree, and then I went into banking.
Okay.
And the only reason I went into banking was because it was the only job I could find at the time. And so I thought, well, I'll just take this job, and then I'll get something that I want to do. Mm-hmm. And when I got in there, I just really enjoyed it, dealing with different business people and different problems and all that kind of stuff. So I did that for about 10 years, and then left and went to law school at the University of Florida, and then got out and practiced law for a little bit. But I had in my mind that I wanted to do my own bank for quite a while. And so I kind of biased my studies in law school toward that, business and banking and stuff. So
that sort of leads us on to where I want to go, with really the next question, is that you've really made a career of creating banks. So, tell me how you, stepped into that first bank that you started.
Well, the first one I started in 99, and it was called Florida Choice Bank, and it was just no pretense to anything, values-based or anything. It was just a regular Florida chartered, FDIC insured bank. Start it, ramp it up, sell it, and hopefully make a bunch of money. And we were successful in doing that because we sold in 06.
Okay.
So it was like, knock on wood, oh my God, how'd we pull that off? And then the bank I sold to sold 18 months later.
Okay.
So my investors that stayed in, which included my dad, thank goodness, made 7 times return on their money in 7 years. So it was just the most unbelievable home run ever. And I had a non-compete, so Cindy and I bought a little mini motorhome. We circumnavigated the country, and my brother gave me Yvon Chouinard's autobiography.
Yep.
He's the guy that founded Patagonia. And the name of the book was Let My People Go Surfing.
Yep.
And so I read that, and it inspired me, and it's like, oh my God, I got to do something that gives back. And not only makes a bunch of people a bunch of money, but also gives back.
Yeah. So that was so you're guessing my next question, which is, tell me about your green enlightenment. So it started out with Yvon Chouinard. We actually had his what was his chief people officer or something like that. It was here actually in Asheville a few years ago. Vincent Stanley. He was here, and he was an amazing guy and had a great story to tell. And we had dinner with him, and it was nice to have somebody with that kind of vision to spend some time with.
Doctor of Philosophy.
Yes.
Director of
That's
Philosophy.
it, Director of Philosophy. Thank you.
Well, that's kind of ironic too, because after reading that and getting inspired, I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I registered as a Republican. And so when that was I was 50 at that time. Yeah, I was 50 at that time. And then my best friend came up with the name First Green Bank, and Cindy came up with the logo. And we got the last, in December 22nd, 2008, we got the last charter granted in the state of Florida for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Because it was right at the absolute meltdown. The regulators were freaking out.
Yeah.
But we got a charter, we got open, and we opened in 2009. And it was just a journey, you know, it was a learning journey as to what does it mean to be values-based, and especially values-based banking.
Right. Absolutely. Because was anybody doing it at the time?
Not many. And again, part of the inspiration was I just went online and I Googled green banks. And a bank in San Francisco popped up, New Resource Bank.
I know New Resource. They're amalgamated now.
Amalgamated now.
Yep.
And then Triodos Bank in the Netherlands popped up. So I just called and asked to speak to the CEO, said, what's your deal? What's the gig? Tell me about it. And they were, both super gracious and just gave me a lot of ideas and encouragement, and that was kind of the start of it.
So you grew First Green and decided to sell First Green, and realized that not being a bank CEO wasn't what you like being retired, I guess, at that point wasn't what you wanted to do, right?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. So we sold in 2018,
right,
and it was very bittersweet. I still to this day don't feel real good about selling it. It broke my heart of my people, the community.
Yeah.
And so Cindy and I got another little mini motorhome. We circumnavigated the country again. And every morning I'd get up and say, I'm going to start another bank. I got to do it. I have unfinished business. And then by nightfall I'd say, I'm too old. There's no way. I can't do it. And after about 6 weeks, she said, look, you're going to start another bank. You know you can do it. You've got unfinished business, or we're going to turn this thing around and go home, and I'm going to divorce you. So I did. And she came up with the name Climate First Bank. Yeah. And the reason for that was she wanted the brand to evoke the mission.
Right.
Or evoke the business model and be in your face.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be Kroll & Company, right? And then we realized, hey, that doesn't really say anything other than who I am.
I forgot y'all were Kroll & Company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and then in 2017, we transitioned to Earth Equity, and it's so much more descriptive. I think that from a marketing perspective, it is so much better to be right in somebody's face. Hey, here's what we do. Love us or hate us, here's what we do. And I think it actually is better from a marketing perspective to say upfront what you do and what your values are.
Well, for sure. And then the first time I met you, which was here in Asheville,
right,
it was like, well, I want to invest with those guys.
Yeah. It's
simple. It's easy.
Yeah.
I don't even have to do my homework because it
Absolutely.
says it right there in the brand.
Yeah, and same thing with you. We want to bank with you guys because we know that when I make a deposit, what it's going towards and who it's supporting. So to sort of take off on that direction, tell me a little bit more about what is a green bank. So what are the kinds of products do you have? What are the kind of services do you have? And who are your clients?
Well, and of course I get asked that all the time. And the answer is just not really as easy as I would like it to be.
Right.
As far as the products, our leading product that we feel is making a difference is our residential solar finance program, which is the best for the consumer in the country right now, and it has been for a long time. And we're doing a strong volume in that. It's only Florida until we get through the first 3 years, then
right,
we can go nationwide.
And how many you're 2 years in right now?
We are we're 28 months in.
28 months in, and we're recording this in October of 23. So
okay, yeah. So June 1st of 24, we come out of de novo is what it's called.
Gotcha.
And we do commercial solar. We do a good bit of that, and honestly, there's no bankers understand commercial solar, so we've got a really strong.
So you built a team specifically so you could do that.
Yeah, but we didn't go hire somebody that was a specialist in renewables. There are a few out there. Some of the big banks have them. Amalgamated has a good program, but our people just embraced it.
that's
and
great.
and have learned it.
And that's what's so important about getting people around you that really have a lot of the same values, because I used to work in consumer electronics many, many years ago, many lives ago. And one of the things as a manager, as I always told people, is you need to own this stereo because you can sell this stereo much better. You can talk to the customer about it. It's the same thing with this.
Absolutely.
You know, if you've got employees or loan officers that have solar on their house, it's much easier to talk to that customer about, hey, here's something that we can really help you with.
Absolutely. And like your intern that I just met,
Yeah.
I'm confident, without even asking her, that the reason she's here is the mission
Absolutely.
and the values.
Yeah.
And we have so many just incredible young people that join us because of that. And our internship program is kind of probably the same as yours.
Right. Right. We want people involved. We want them to really to buy into the mission, but also to enhance it. And because she's doing stuff that is well above my head, that even when I was her age, you know, around 20 or 21, whatever she is, I was never even close to that level of sophistication or intelligence.
Heck no.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anybody that complains about millennials or Zoomers, they've got their head in the sand.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're looking at a bad sample, is what
That's what it is.
A bad sample size
That's what
of them.
it is.
So, you know, so you come out of de novo next year. What are your goals as a founder, a CEO? What are your goals? Where do you want to take Climate First?
Well, great question.
Without giving too much information out,
Well,
obviously.
and,
but yeah.
and I don't, and it's kind of, you know, I put it in the offering circulars and
Okay.
our pitch decks and all that when we were raising capital. I would like to not sell this one.
Right.
I would like to be able to, I would not like to, dadgummit, we're gonna take it. We're gonna take it public, and because I was thinking when I was putting it together, well, what's the investor thesis?
Right.
And then I thought, well, what do I want as a baby boomer? Well, I want cash flow and liquidity. And then I thought, oh my gosh, that's what my millennial daughter wants is
Right.
cash flow and liquidity. So how do you do that in a bank? Pay dividends and go public.
Yeah.
So probably in the order of go public, then pay dividends.
Right.
But we'd like to go public in 2025.
Okay.
Of course, it depends on the market, depends on all that stuff. But we are now $470 million in assets after only 28 months. And the last time I checked, we're the fastest growing new bank in America since 2017.
That's amazing.
So something's working.
Something's working. Do you think a part of that is the name? Do you think that that's drawing people in that you may not have?
I think so. It's hard to measure, but we do attempt to measure.
Yeah.
And I do think so. And I kind of say, well, it attracts a lot of people, but it doesn't really piss anybody off.
Right.
So, it's, you know,
That's all
we
right.
appeal to everybody. Right.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So without getting too political, and I know you and I can get into that. We'll
Yeah.
try to tamp that down just a little bit. What are the challenges that you're facing right now in Florida? Because Florida does have some new laws that might make it a little bit more difficult for your business plan.
It's challenging, and it's probably more challenging because we feel like we're not living to our word,
Right.
To the investors that really care about that, or to the customers that really care about that, because the new law, it's just called the anti-ESG bill. It's House Bill 3, forbids a business from discriminating against a person, and the person defined broadly,
Right.
Including companies, because of the Citizens United ruling,
Right.
and on the basis of ideology, religion, politics, or anything. So we can't say, well, we're not going to loan to a fracking company. We can't say we're not going to loan to a water bottling company,
Right.
or a gun manufacturer, or a for-profit prison. But you know, we're going to stay true to our core and true to our mission. And we've always felt we want to be a good bank to anybody.
Right.
You know, we don't care what your political affiliation is or predilection is. We just want to be a good bank and do good in the world.
And at the end of the day, you guys have been really a leader in recognizing that interest rates are up now. So you've been a leader in making sure that, hey, let's bring in some deposits because we're not going to get left behind by having these low interest rates that a lot of other banks still have.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. Luck, luck is real important.
Of course
And,
it is.
and I don't know. I've been awfully lucky with the timing, so we don't have a huge legacy portfolio of low rate loans. We don't have a.
That's true. So you don't have a lot of commercial space that or office space that might not be. We were talking about before we started recording about virtual workers and all that stuff. So you don't have a book full of office space that's empty right now.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
And again, knock on wood, all our stuff we feel will perform well even in an economic downturn, which I've always tell everybody I've never predicted an economic trend correctly, so I don't want anybody to listen to me, but you guys have to live in that world a lot more than we do, and we're cautious right now for sure.
Yeah, I think everybody's cautious right now. And again, what at the time we're recording this, pretty much everything is up in the air about, is the Fed going to stop raising rates or are they going to raise it again? And that's uncertainty, I think, really has been a challenge to the market, probably has been a challenge to, people who are looking at banks, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And it would be nice to have a little bit of clarity going forward.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that's just really, yeah, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the future of banking. Do you think that what you're doing is the future of banking? Do you think that you will see more banks sort of, come in behind you?
I don't know that more banks will come in behind us as values-based institutions, but definitely more niche-based. I think the future of banking is very different than what it is now. I think it's going to be hard for small banks to survive, which is extremely unfortunate.
Yeah.
America's the only country that has entrepreneurial banking. When I started in banking, there were over 18,000 charters in the United States. Now there's around 4,000. That's
tremendous consolidation.
Tremendous consolidation. And small banks, to me, are the backbone of small business, which is the backbone of the country. So anyway, I got off track, but it's going to be real hard to make it as a small bank unless you're fully digitized, unless you got a specialty. And one of my dreams is to be able to help other bankers, do that.
Yeah, because there's so many people who don't realize what their big bank is financing. You take a look at, all the big banks for the most part are financing fossil fuels. Obviously with some of the laws, you can't specifically say we don't.
Not anymore.
We don't finance fossil fuels, but realistically, you guys are probably not going to finance any fossil fuels in Florida, and so. It's an education process, sort of like we are with clients, educating people on the importance of aligning your investments with your values. It's the same thing, align your banking with your values as well.
Right. Absolutely. Know where your money sleeps at night.
Yeah.
And that's super, super important.
And people don't necessarily recognize that when you make a deposit to a bank, that money doesn't really stay at the bank. That money then gets loaned out to a bunch of other people. And if I know that I make a deposit with Climate First, I know that money is probably going to put solar on somebody's roof. Odds are that's probably what's happening, right?
Right. Well, that's a really interesting thing because in number of loans, solar loans constitute over 70% of our portfolio. In dollars, it's smaller because they're smaller loans.
Right.
But even on the commercial real estate side, we really try to focus on stuff that's better for the planet, and we encourage it. We encourage the business owner to put solar on the roof. We encourage electric vehicle charging stations.
Like you had talked about convenience stores in the past. That's an important part of it, is sort of being that driving force into what my buddy Garvin at Green Alpha calls the next economy. Right? I think in many ways you're on the leading edge of the next economy.
Yeah, and that just transition.
Right.
There's got to be a transition.
Yeah.
And we want to be part of it and not thumb our nose at it.
Yeah.
We've historically done a lot of convenience store lending and a lot of hotel lending because we have a very strong following in the Gujarat Indian community, and that's a lot of their specialty.
Right.
But there's the next generation are coming into the business, and they're saying, hell yeah, we're going to put electric vehicle charging
Right.
station. We know we're not going to be pumping gas in 20 years.
Right.
So it's a really cool place to be.
Yeah, and I think the point about generational or like this intergenerational transfer is really, really important because we know that 99% of millennials have an interest in sustainable investing.
Wow.
Which
that
is
much?
which is crazy. It's either a somewhat interested or very interested. And at the same time, we also know that the great wealth transfer is happening over the next 10, 20 years. So money from boomers and their elders are being passed down. And so if we're not creating this intergenerational educational opportunity for your generation, for my generation, and then for millennials and Gen Z, it's a really missed opportunity. Because these younger generations don't always have the same values group that their parents and grandparents do, but they're going to invest with their values regardless.
Right.
And so for you as a banker, for us as an investment firm, this is a great opportunity to educate the older generation because we know that next generation is going to want our products.
That's an astounding percentage of that
Yeah.
of that demographic.
Yeah, and that's a I'm not making that up out of the air. That's from Morgan Stanley's Sustainable Signals report that they put out every couple of years. So yeah, that's a real deal. So we're going to wrap it up soon here, and so I have the same question that I ask every one of my guests, and so I'll preface it by saying, there's a lot of negativity in the news. So especially when it comes to climate change, we see fires that seem to be everywhere. We see hurricanes hitting Southern California like we did earlier this year.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened in 80 some years. New England is getting hurricanes now. So in light of all of this negativity and the fact that we see climate change hitting now or starting to, what gives you hope?
My newest grandson. Yeah, and then talking about hurricanes hitting California, my 7-year-old grandson always says, "Grandpa, what the?" And it stops there, fortunately. But
He hasn't learned from you yet. You know that.
the younger generations, honestly, at the end of the day, really, that's the only thing that can give us hope, right? My generation's certainly blown it. You're kind of in that sandwich generation,
Right.
And I wouldn't say y'all have blown it, but
We're trying at least.
yeah, exactly.
So, well, I appreciate that, and it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. We've been trying to arrange this for quite some time, but I'm glad that you actually came up to Asheville and we could do this in person instead of Zoom.
Yeah.
Ken LaRoe, thank you so much for joining me
buddy.
today,
Thank you.
and thank you for watching. Take care.